Right now we're here for Monday Night Marsh, our Works in Progress series. We've got 3 performers here. And stick around. And hi, Natasha. I see one of our solo festival performers is in the audience. Great to see you. And check out Natasha's show here as part of the festival. And we've actually got one of our festival performers on the bill tonight. So we will be doing a little bit of Q&A with the performers. So those of you watching on YouTube, I'll be watching that chat as well. Feel free to put questions, comments, encouragement for the performers in the chat, and we'll have a little discussion afterwards. But to get started, we have a veteran marsh performer here to start us off, Emil Amok, and he will be performing a piece called Emil Amok in His Closet on Filipino nurses and Filipino-American history and trying to cope with COVID comedy.
Just remember, you can't laugh and be scared at the same time. Not in your closet, not layered up, not if you don't go anywhere. So, come on, in our own muted state, just give me a fake laugh. Give me a laughing cell kind of, the president's gone home. It's me, Emil. A meal, you know, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When you feel like having a little Filipino, you have a meal. You take your favorite drugs, you know. Take with a meal. Hey, you know there's a food shortage? Come eat me. And if you don't like it, you can bite me. Yeah. Hey, this is COVID comedy, you know. I got zoomcomedian.com. I still have amok.com. I got zoomcomedian.com when this all started because I knew when you laugh, you can't be scared. I'm stacked like a 6-layered burrito. I mean, Taco Bell has 7, but they're not vegan. Oh, let me take care of this. I'm layered up in my closet. Not that kind of closet. This is how I debate Trump. I'd have to start stripping. You know, you cannot be so certain these days. We need protection. All the PPE, all the Filipino fighting equipment. And the virus. Donald Trump. I don't want to be like Donald Trump. He's the master spreader. So I'm in my closet with this little Zoom people to see all the people. And it's not that bad. I mean, really, it's not that bad. It's just necessary. Because, you know, don't want to let your guard down. You know, Filipinos are boxers. You know, like a bad boxer, you let your guard down. And unless you have a counter, the virus will get you right back. Unless you're like me, masked up in my closet. Oh, my God. It's so hot. Keep my headphones on so it's like a video game and I can play you remotely. Look, I look like Princess Leia and Madonna, you know, and maybe the guy at Soul Cycle. No, I don't get a Soul Cycle. Well, they won't let me in a church. I'm Emil Amok. Amok, to be thrust into a murderous frenzy. It's the Filipino word in the English language. You know, I tell dick jokes. I tell dictionary jokes. You know, I'm pent up here. You know, I want to get out and explode, but I can't. Not since last March, and that's why I'm in my closet, holed up for safety reasons. You know, actually, you know, this is my life. I mean, without COVID, this is my life. I'm hidden, waiting to explode all my life. Glass ceiling, I've been in a closet of my own making. This chapel of my low self-esteem, underutilized, wanting to do more. I did what they let me. Maybe it was just another kind of disease in the head, but I thought I could explode tonight, native style, go amok, bang the gong. Don't worry, I sound white. I must have some white blood, and I do, on the hood of my car. That's not a bad Asian driver joke, that's an amok Asian driver joke. Relax, I'm not driving in my closet. I'm in my closet, I'm not going out there. I can't go out there. I've seen the graphs. It's normal, then one big spike. And that one big spike, that was just Donald Trump last week. I don't want to be Donald Trump. I mean, he's back in the White House. 3 days after that diagnosis, he is contagious. Look, did you see what he said on Sunday? He said he's not sick. He's learning about the virus, taking private lessons at COVID U, aka Walter Reed. The real school, he said, not that book learning school. He has it too. I mean, but I guess he knows more than Fauci because he has that firsthand experience. It's not that book learning. Second term, is already a lame duck presidency. Do you think we need a lame duck at the helm? But this isn't about Trump. Thoughts and prayers, sure, yeah. TAP, thoughts and prayers. What's he doing for us? He's trying to infect us all. He should be in bed. He should want that. He should be in bed. Alone. Me, I'm not getting out of this closet. I'm staying in this closet. Besides, the doctor says I need more fiber. Where else are you going to find that? In the closet. But I'm also here for safety reasons. And what possible reason to leave except maybe, well, here's one. I had to get a haircut. My hair was like going amok. They finally opened up in San Francisco and I got an appointment. I had 9 months growth. You can see it on my website, amok.com. I had I looked like Cousin It. I had to wear my loincloth. Yeah, look. My loincloth. Just to keep my hair in place. This is Zoom, so you only see the top part. We're good down there. Okay, I'll level with you. I do more than just cut my hair. Okay, I'm a man of pigment. This month I reach a certain age as a person of color where they can discriminate against me. Not just for the color of my skin, but for the color of my hair. Whippersnappers, they can't call me elderly, not an old guy with dimples. That's why black hair matters. To fight the discrimination of time. That's the other problem in this closet. You're in your closet and you think about your life. Think about what you did, what you wore. You see what you wore. Did it all add up? And then you come up with this $50 word, this French word, manqué. Oh, in Filipino parlance, I guess it would translate into, did you miss the boat, manqué? You unfulfilled manqué. My wife, who works for PETA, said, manqué? You're not even a monkey. The monkeys in primate centers, now, they're born in captivity, deprived of the mothers for experimentation. I mean, that's years of trauma, self-defecation. They tear out their hair. They pace in the steel cages. No peaceful savannah, no countryside. They're tools of vivisection. You're no manqué, Emil, she tells me. The monkeys are manqués, and your tax dollars pay for it in primate centers in the U.S. I say, okay, honey, I'll do another show on the real manqués. I'm just a fake manqué in my closet. When you're in a closet, I don't know why I kept all this stuff. Your clothes are they're like tombstones in a fashion cemetery. In October, it's Filipino American History Month. Hey, how about this? I didn't know I had a Benny Agbayani, a signed Benny Agbayani jersey, number 50. Uh-oh. Who's coming in my closet? This comes in later. Benny Agbayani. Mr. Sportscaster, please. October 7th, 2000, Giants and Mets, 13th inning. Benny Agbayani at the plate. Aaron Foltz pitching for the Giants. Here's the pitch. Agbayani hits a deep drive to left. It's going. It's over the fence. It's gone 391 feet. The Mets win 3-2. Go on to play the Yanks of the World Series. Bobby Bonds walks off with the Giants. He's wearing his ring, and I guess the drugs didn't work then, Bobby. Agbayani means hero. And Benny was the best position player in the major leagues. I say position player because the greatest Filipino player ever was the pitcher Tim Lincecum of the San Francisco Giants. Double side, double no-hitters, 3-time World Series champion. Oh, sure, he screwed up when he did. He's only half Filipino. Must have been his white genes. These are my memories in my closet. Oh, That H, and it fell down on me. H, yeah. Well, I did wait about 8 minutes in because, I'd be truly unbearable. I would have said that, yeah, I went to Harvard within the first 30 seconds of meeting, but no, H stands for humility. The secret is I did go to Harvard, but I'm not that smart. They give you this thing on freshman year called the Facebook. It's a real book. You look at all the guys and the gals, whatever your preference, to date or not to date. And if you don't get a date, you masturbate and have a pizza. That was college life, and the stupid part of this, I couldn't figure out how to harness what would become the bane of democracy, the source of all our algorithmic disaster and the devaluing of truth. I couldn't figure out how to make $1 billion out of this thing that would be the Facebook. I just wanted to get laid. I was Harvard stupid, not Trump stupid. I mean, his favorite Asian country, he says it, Thailand. Can you believe he says Thailand? Before this week, he might say super spreader, and Trump would say Stormy Daniels. But now he's a super spreader. Why haven't I thrown this H sweater out? It feeds my monkeyness. I was in the same class as Bill Gates, my 100 billionaire. Once I had 100 billion sperm. I mean, but Harvard, here's the problem. I think I didn't graduate with white privilege. I had white voice privilege, which sounds like equality, but it's a little like being in a Filipino Beatles tribute band. The one affirming thing I did was I competed to be the class clown, and I won. In my winning speech, I went up during graduation week, and I came up and I said, hello, it's so good to be here. And now I sound like this. Harvard man. Oh, it was transformational. I got this laugh, a tidal wave. It was traumatic laughter. I hadn't talked to this guy 40 years. I had to call up my friend. I've been so bothered by this. I call it my TED Talk because his name is Ted. He wasn't Ted Kaczynski, but he was Ted. We used to philosophize over beer and pizza, and now he's a philosopher at a big-time college. I called him up out of the blue. Emil, you had balls. The parents hated you, but you confronted them on race. Just years after civil rights. That's what I remember. You had balls. Yeah, I still do. And thanks for the memories, Ted. And you? You have memories? More memories of that day? Yeah. That's what I remember. You were funny, but I live in the now. I live in the now. So I didn't become a comedian. I became a journalist, at NPR. I said, this is National Public Radio. This is NPR, National Filipino Radio. That's what I would like to have said. All things considered, it was an okay gig. But then I discovered my voice writing these columns. I'm still writing today. During this COVID period, I was on deadline. I did an interview on Zoom. I talked to a Filipino nurse in Elmhurst, Queens. Queens was the hot spot. I talked to him. Nurses, Filipino nurses, 4% of them in America are Filipino, and more than 30% of them died on the front lines of COVID. It was April. I talked to Jim. That was his name, Jim, like a diamond. April, Elmhurst, Queens. Oh, Emil, this man came, 71 years old. Oh, that's close in age to me. 71 years old. He says, oh, I'm ready to die. How about you? And I look at him. I said, no, I'm not ready to die. I'm here to save you. I'm a Filipino nurse. I come here from the Philippines to save your lives, not to see you die. And the guy was going fast. Oh, we don't have enough PPE here. I have to go searching for PPE, so I do my rounds. Then I go from the ICU into ER, and then back. And then I see this guy. He's dead. He's dead. Oh, I would pray for him, but he died. I take off my PPE and I save it in the bag for tomorrow. Then I go home in the subway. I go in the subway. Then people see me and I just have my camiseta. It looks like I have a scrubs. I don't even wear the pants, just a t-shirt. And they say, yo, China virus, China man, you go home. I said, I, I'm Filipino. I'm not Chinese. What are you saying? I'm not going to breathe on you. Jim had COVID, has recovered. And I saw him, talk to him while he was quarantined from his family in his one bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. I sent him an email just recently. I hope he's okay. He's on the front lines. We've had 210,000 deaths under COVID. I had 2 funerals to go to. They didn't die of COVID, but they died under COVID. I don't know if you've been to any Zoom funerals. They're no fun. There was my Ate Esther. Ate Esther for big sister. Esther was my father's cousin's granddaughter. And she came from the Philippines to take care of me and my sister. And she'd take care of me and my mom and my sister. And when she went on dates, people would come courting her. The guy who ultimately married her, Manong Pete, they would take us to Playland by the beach in San Francisco. And we would go and they would act like we were their kids and they would take us to the fun house and we would see Laughing Sal. There was Laughing Sal, the antidote to everything bad. Because Laughing Sal was this big mechanical Raggedy Ann type doll and she would just laugh. And she knew that you can't laugh and be scared at the same time. And I go to Ate Esther's funeral and I watch it through Zoom and I can't reach out, touch her, hug the relatives. I can't participate. I can't thank her for Laughing Sal. The other time I left my closet, I went to get a colonoscopy. Oh, it wasn't me, it was my wife. You see, I was going to have the colonoscopy and I was going to do the bypass, do the poop in the box, where you poop in the box and you send it USPS, United States Poop Service, and then they bring it back to you. But I was a procrastinator. I didn't want to do it. My wife said, what's wrong with you? Just poop in the box and send it off. And she said, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. And she did. She pooped in the box and she sent it FedEx, federal excrement. And off it went to the lab and then it came back. She was positive. I said, is that maybe the beet salad? Maybe it's that vegan beet salad you prepared, or maybe it was something else. Maybe it was the pomegranates. No. We got to go do the whole thing. So we had a health scare, maybe cancer. We got to get the colonoscopy now. And the prep is the worst because they give you this cocktail, which is like a colonoscopini, which is Gatorade and Drano, and you drink it 24 hours ahead, and you open up the floodgates, and it's diarrhea on steroids. And I took her to the doctor the next day, and she gets knocked out. And then I come back to the closet, and then I get the call. I pick her up. The nurse brings her to the car, and they give me the thumbs up sign. She's healthy. She's clean. And on the drive home, we have the best talk. We've been married 30 years. I mean, it's not like a mortgage and you start burning it. I mean, you have a colonoscopy and you realize, hey, we got something to say to each other. My friends say, oh, don't you get crazy living with your wife all the time during quarantine? No, who'd you rather quarantine with? And we talk and have this great talk. And I want to be in this state all the time because it's a state when you're the least full of shit ever. A double colonoscopy on Valentine's Day 2021. True love. We got it booked. I got back to the house and my wife was all tired from all the anesthesia. Took a nap again, and I came back to my closet. Vincent Price and the Fly. Remember Vincent Price and the Fly? Well, there's this moth in my closet. And Sonny boy, Dad, is that you? It's my father. Yeah, it's me. It's me. I'm a moth. Oh, it's nice. Oh, moth, you do the moth yet? No, this is the marsh. But oh, you started the moth. I think we're part moth. Oh, okay, good. Dad, Dad, what's up? You've been dead for 50 years. Well, I'm concerned about this election. I mean, you're going to vote, right? Oh, I'm gonna. Wait a minute. You're gonna, Dad, you're dead. You don't vote. Oh yeah, we love to vote here. Oh, it's the big talk of the town up here. Dead people don't vote. Oh, you've never been to Chicago? Oh, Boston? No, yeah, that's our recreation. That's our fun. Dad, don't tell me you're going to vote for Donald Trump. Well, I was thinking about it. He's has some qualities. But Dad, and he'd rip away your health care. Oh, I don't think health care over here. Oh, but then, how about he's a bully? He's a madman. He's a bulldog. Yeah, but that's the thing about bulldogs. You get a bulldog, and if they're your bulldog, you leash him up, and then you go, "Arr, arr, 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 arr. Go get him, sick him, sick him." Arr, 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 arr. Oh, the bulldogs. Dad, you can't be serious. I'm very serious. He reminds me of my countryman, Ferdinand Marcos from Lawag, Ilocos Norte. The authoritarian, non-parai, martial law. Trump is the white Marcos. Dad? White Marcos? There. Another reason to leave. To leave the closet. To vote early. This is where we play a little music to remind us to vote early. Not often, just once, and live. I'm going to mask up. For time's sake, I'll just put this on for now. But I'm going to walk out of the closet with my PPE, and I'm going to live life. And I'm going to be careful out there. Just remember, folks, you can't laugh and be scared at the same time. Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Emil. Nice to have you back here, Monday Night Marsh. It's been a while. It's good to have you back. And again, we'll be doing some Q&A at the end. So if you got questions, save them up. But we're going to move on now to our next performer, who's another, as I mentioned, another March veteran, and will also be one of our performers in our March International Solo Festival this coming weekend. So let me get her set up here. Okay. And I just want to make sure the camera is on and the sound is good. Come on. Okay, hang on. Okay, now we're live. Okay, so I turn you over now to Merciley Jenkins and her piece, My First Boss.
I've never told this story before. I'm sure that when I do, none of you will like me. You won't understand how this could have happened. Part 1, getting the job. In the early 1970s, after I graduated from college, I was among the first wave of baby boomer women who wanted something more than marriage and family. We didn't want to be like our mothers who sacrificed their dreams for ours. We all wanted careers. We wanted to leave home. We wanted to leave town. We wanted to leave the state and even the country and do it differently. Whatever that was, we weren't really sure, but we figured we'd start by looking for jobs that women had never held before. That left us a huge range of possibilities. You see, in those days, the want ads in the newspaper were divided into two sections: jobs for men and jobs for women. So I decided to move to New York with my friend Peggy and start looking for a job while staying with family friends in the Jersey suburbs. I wouldn't take a job in a typing pool at Time Life like all the other bright young women from Vassar and Columbia who were working away in giant typing pools as anonymous as kelp. I wanted to write and do research, and I was a terrible typist on purpose. My father had forbidden me to major in theater, my one true love. I won the Best Acting Award in high school because he said, and I quote, "Women have to lay their way to the top." I said, "Even?" Now fill in the blank with any well-respected woman in show business. Helen Hayes? He said, "Yes." Well, how the hell did he know? I never found out, but I found my own way to use my talents in education. It took a while, but I got a job as a research assistant at the National Council on Aging. I was on my way. Part 2, what happened? Peggy and I didn't even have an apartment yet, but I had a date. So I arranged to spend the night at my boss Norman's apartment to be on the safe side. You know, avoid any awkwardness at the end of the evening or late night train back to Jersey alone. Norman was married for the 3rd time and living with his newest wife. I was to sleep on the couch. I arrived, we were chatting and smoking. His wife was sitting with me on the couch. She got up and went to bed, leaving me alone with Norman, who was sitting in a chair nearby. Norman was about 45, and I was 21, going on 17 when it came to looks and sophistication. But I thought I was really tough, because I came from Detroit, the inner city, not the suburbs. Norman looked at me strangely, and then he stopped talking. Then he pushed me down on the couch and lunged for me and had his way with me. Isn't that what they used to say? I didn't do anything or say anything. It didn't take long. Then he got up, went into the bedroom, and shut the door. I spent the night on the couch. Where else was I going to go? The next morning, his wife was already gone, and we took the bus to work. I was standing there holding on to the pole in front of me, looking away from him, silent and empty-headed. He said he thought it was incredible. It was the closest to rape he'd ever come. He was elated. I thought, that was rape, wasn't it? He said his wife had heard everything. I was shocked and horrified because I hadn't heard anything. The question was never, would I report what had happened, but would I be fired? I mean, he said he hoped I wouldn't lose my job over it. He would speak to his wife. Well, I guess he was very persuasive. I didn't want to quit because it was a really good job. I got to do writing and research. I didn't have to be a secretary. I had my own secretary. We were putting out a journal on the relationship of aging and work. I mean, what was I going to do? Go back to Detroit? Tell my parents? I couldn't even tell my roommate. I couldn't even admit it to myself. Norman thought he was a good guy. Who supported me in my work, while I had to put up with his suggestions as to what I should wear, like skirts instead of pants, and his way of grinning at me like the Cheshire cat. But Norman and I had an unspoken agreement, and he never touched me again. Some of the other middle-aged married men in the office were also very interested in me. Later on, I realized it was primarily my youth that attracted them and nothing about me in particular. If only I'd known what a commodity that I was, maybe I could have capitalized on that, but I didn't understand, and I just wanted to be taken seriously for my brains. So, I decided to find myself a nice, age-appropriate gay boyfriend and take a respite from the sexual revolution, which I was not enjoying at this moment. I wanted the freedom to choose sex without shame, but instead I felt like prey. I'd always said no, except for one young man in college who talked me out of my virginity. I mean, he went on to be a doctor, but he should have been a lawyer. And now I wonder if it hadn't been lost long before, in the same way as that night, and I just refused to know it. If you're very quiet, you can pretend that nothing is happening until something or someone wakes you. The gay boyfriend and I had a great time on the Jersey Shore, pretending to be a straight couple, the same weekend that the Stonewall riots went on for 3 nights down the street from where I lived. We never talked about that, but we never went back. We knew we weren't really fooling anybody, but I didn't care. I felt safe. Maybe he did too. But there were changes on Christopher Street that signaled the beginning of something that would become gay pride. Men sat closer together, sometimes in each other's lap. One man's legs wrapped around the other, defying anyone to challenge them. And nobody did, not there. I loved New York and felt right at home with the grime and the crime. I used to threaten to teach inward bound classes for newcomers from more pastoral locations like Oregon, who were always getting mugged in those days because I didn't know what subway stop to get off at night or when to take a cab or when in doubt to walk down the middle of the street. Well, just like I would have been helpless in the wild and probably eaten by bears in the time it takes for the crosstown shuttle to go from Grand Central to Times Square. But Peggy hated New York and moved back to Grand Blanc, Michigan. So I moved across country to San Francisco because it was the only other city in the United States that I could imagine living. And I thought I should go and see what it was like doing it differently there. Leaving always gives me roller coaster feelings. Anticipation takes me up, and fear and doubt brings me sliding back down. It hurts to pull up even little roots. Those are the only ones you have. Part 2, The Return. Almost 30 years later, in the fall of 2000, I moved back to NYC for my sabbatical from my university job and stayed with my old friend Sue. She and I had met at my first job and stayed in touch over the years. She had been Norman's assistant before me and run into similar difficulties, but I didn't know it then. I hadn't been there long when her phone rang. I answered it to hear the unmistakable voice of my old boss. He was dying and in hospice. Would I come visit? Yes. I met his now third ex-wife again, and she seemed glad I was there. I was introduced to their son, a young man who was busy helping his father with something mechanical to shade the grief on his face that was palpable. They left, and Norman and I had a kind of tea and sandwiches. He was looking out the window from his hospital bed, and he turned to me with that Cheshire grin and said, "We were bad." I stood across the room. "No, you were bad." He nodded and turned back towards the window. My father had warned me away from what I love the most, but neglected to mention that there were men like this in every field. Dad was gone, but Norman was here to see that I had gotten back to what I loved the most. So with nothing else between us but the untouched tea and sandwiches, I performed a monologue that I had written. I don't even remember what it was. But his face transformed to the man I once thought he was, a kind of slovenly Bobby Kennedy with glasses. And I remembered the poem that I had written for him, a word portrait of a man I wasn't able to hate. And now I didn't need to. Norman. Old tie shoes on the bookcase with a hole. Your feet in them leading to ravaged knotty socks. Up comes a mass of khaki wrinkles, caught at the waist by pinstripes and something askew of your buttons, your usual tie. Some nicotine-stained fingers on newsprint, others probing strands of dark hair into peaks and twists. Somewhere in there is a smile, as all of you completely reclining in an overrun chair knows who's the boss. When I reach for what I want, I'm haunted by those days when invitations, opportunities, acceptances come. I feel joy and satisfaction. But then I'm tempted to put them out of my mind. Sometimes I literally forget. I let them go. I don't do them. I say no. I am afraid. Something could go wrong. I could lose myself. But now I know. Not forever.
Thank you, Lee. I wish you could see. I don't know if you can see the audience here. The visual applause. I'm so sorry that it's unwieldy to unmute the audience because the applause was wonderful to see. That's the way we deal with applause here on Zoom. But so hang out for the Q&A, and if you got questions for Lee, we'll be getting to that. We're coming up on our final piece here, and our next performer is new to the Monday Night Marsh, and I'm glad to welcome Spike Wong here. He is doing an autobiographical piece titled Glazed. And so, Spike, it is all yours.
I'm not addicted to this stuff. I appreciate it too much to do that. Young people who post about their morning coffee on the way to work, the hoochie cup of frappadingy with 2 drops of kale syrup and the whipped cream on top, those people are addicted. My once-a-month donut. Don't laugh. Once a month, a guy deserves a treat, right? The way I figure it, I work out for 3 weeks, and somewhere in that 4th week, I get a treat. So that's what I got this morning. 1 glazed donut. 1 large cup of regular Joe. That's it. Didn't want to spend any extra time there because, as it turned out, this isn't any sort of treat today. 1 glazed donut. It's a force of remembrance, if you will. It's my mom taking me to the Bake Right Bakery down on Beach Street when I was a kid after Sunday church for 1 little treat. I mean, what 8-year-old hasn't earned a treat after attending a Chinese Baptist church service? But you haven't heard hellfire and brimstone until you've heard it in Cantonese. That minister could tear me open 6 ways to Sunday and stuff me full of shaking and fear. But the one speaker I remember most was a Chinese lady who was wearing a black dress and her hair was pulled back in a very tight bun. Severe. I was seated at the end of the center aisle, and she came prowling down through the congregation, stalking her prey by the guilt in their faces, the sins in their hearts. She stared at me as she ate the microphone and assured us of a burning eternity if we so much as looked the wrong way. At the end of the service, my mom had to peel me off of the chair. So, a visit to the Bake Right Bakery was my return to sweetness in life, the reassurance that I was indeed still a good boy. These days, I go to the DC station, donuts and coffee, and a little relaxation. It's run by these Chinese Cambodian ladies who I consider the sisters that I never had. Yeah, sort of like sisters. I grew up with all brothers. Anyway, they speak Cambodian and just enough English, and 0 Chinese, which is even less than what I can speak. But I couldn't relax there this morning. It's that damn COVID and one other thing that I have to get off my chest. But it's much deeper than just right here. Because as much as I want to pretend that what I felt like doing wasn't me, it was. It is. It's tearing me open, and what's coming from deep inside me might be truer than many things I've felt before. Well, the DC station, it's the kind of donut shop where customers are fine with parking and letting their car engines run while they go in to get something. It's got coffee and hot chocolate machines lined up all in a row like a stainless steel altar. There's a counter with 2 windows full of donuts dripping sugar. They've got croissant, not at all like a good Parisian one, but you just don't care when they fill it with bacon and eggs. There's a regular clientele that shares newspapers so quickly that you don't even know where page 1 is anymore. And there's usually a bunch of old white guys sitting around who can tell me about actually seeing Sandy Koufax pitch a no-hitter against the Giants in 1963. And all I can say is, yeah, well, in 2014, I saw Madison Bumgarner win Game 7 on TV. To which Charlie, the oldest, says, he didn't win it, hotshot. He got the save. Well, I don't know why it should be like this, but I think that coffee memorializes my life. I was watching a football game in high school when I had my first cup of joe. I was sitting in the stands after playing in the JV game, and I so wanted to impress the redhead whose hand I was holding, so I said, hey, I'm gonna go get some coffee. You want anything? She's been married a long time now. Still looks good. Must be the red hair. And then there was the pot of coffee that got me through the night in college when I wanted that A in Econ 708 zillion. I was the only non-white in that graduate class, and I had something to prove. The night before the final exam, the last study session with my classmates ran into the dark side of 1 a.m. We were talking these crazy formulas, writing them all out and solving scenarios, and someone at the chalkboard made a mistake. A slight one, but I knew 100% that it was a mistake. We were supposed to be helping each other prepare for the final exam, which was graded on a strict curve. But I let everyone else think that the solution was correct. I didn't say anything, nothing. My first cappuccino, the day my grandmother died in San Francisco. My first espresso on my wedding day, the first one. And many more cups on the sleepless nights after I got divorced. My first cup of hot joe from a vending machine, when the cop handed it to me while I was making a statement about getting jumped by a street gang. I can still feel my arms pulled back. I still see the knife coming, still hear someone screaming. More than anything, I feel my years of martial arts training. I feel the twists and turns and power that sent one of them to the hospital and the rest slithering off into the night. But sometimes a particular happenstance shuts down our ability to not give a shit. When fear takes control and yet relinquishes its hold on our behavior at the same time. When the mind is uneasy and disturbed. In this time, the time of COVID-19, I'm worried. Age, 68. Health, bad asthma. I'm in the very at-risk category. And what happened today never should have happened. This morning was foggy and colder than it should have been, given the time of year. When I parked my car at the DC station, I put my mask on as usual, cleaned my hands with sanitizer before getting out, as usual. I got to the front door, and I saw that there were several customers inside. Too many for me to keep a safe physical distance. And I hate that term, social distancing. I don't want to get social with you. I want to stay the hell away from you. So I'm standing there, and through the front window, I can see two young men at the counter trying to decide on donuts. An older couple leaves the shop, and now I've got room to enter, so I do. The first thing I notice is that one of the two young guys, a skater dude with his skateboard in hand, he's not wearing his mask over his face, but rather on his chin. Every other face in there is covered. I know 3 people who have died from COVID-19. I went to high school with 2 of them. I know 6 more who died who were related to people who are my friends. There's a dark and persistent hole inside me that desperately needs some relief. There's none coming. No one can give that to me. So there I am. I could leave, but I want some coffee. I'm fed up with maskless people inside buildings. I'm tired of people walking by so close they could pick my pocket after sneezing in my face. I hate the anti-science dumb fucks who think all of this is a hoax. So I call out to the young man, "Hey, cover your face with your mask." In response, he says, "What?" He looks over, trying to decide who's dictating to him, and he spots me staring. He says, "You shut the fuck up." His jaw sticks out, but he slowly covers his face, partially. I say, "Hey, I'm in a vulnerable population, okay? So just cover up." But he can't stop himself. "Afraid of a little China virus, you fucking Asian? You don't shut the fuck up, I'm going over there and smack you." And then he laughs, nervously and loudly. Lightning takes over my body. My muscles, my fists, my brain screaming at me to go over and confront him right now. 3 long steps, that's all. 3 steps to him and I can settle it. Because I know guys like this. He's probably a senior in high school, at most a year or 2 out. I taught high school for 38 years. That's a boatload of time trying to understand people, the best and the worst. And I know about punks like this guy. He loves this kind of intimidation. I force myself to stay rooted and silent, but my fists tighten, loosen, tighten. I hear myself. "Stay relaxed. You'll punch faster that way." What was that? My mind actually sees the whole thing. It happens on his way out. He pushes me, or he tries to punch me, but I block it and hit him. It's an energy and intention thing. He wants to threaten me, and I won't let him. My cognitive brain says, "Be the adult in the room, okay? He's taller than you, too." Most bullies are, aren't they? But I know enough to feel what I'm going to do. And then they're paying at the counter. The ladies say, "Thank you." My friends, the ladies, my Asian sisters. I can't do this. I can't do anything. They'd scream, "Chop, Steve! Chop! Punch up!" I can't. But I can. And then the young guys turn. I breathe and think, "Touch me, dude. Go ahead. Push me, you asshole. You won't like what happens. I will hurt you. You motherfucker, just push me. I'm standing right next to the door. You can't leave without walking right by me. You can do it. Hit me, motherfucker." They walk by, staring straight ahead as if another rack of donuts is waiting for them in the parking lot. Not a touch, not a breeze, not a sound as they pass by. I know their world. The possibilities of what could have happened are already past them. Something else has already taken over. Perhaps, but gone at any rate for them. But there's still blood in my eyes. My first sip of this coffee was lousy. Somehow too bitter. I don't get it. That was the taste in my mouth anyway. So I guess it's real. I would have had what the shop calls a glazed cinnamon roll, but I didn't want more sugar. I'm not a good boy. I want the satisfaction of violence.
Yeah, thanks, Spike. And I encourage you to put yourself in gallery view and check out your acclaim here. The applause as we get it here in Zoom. Well done. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to unmute our other performers as well. Now, did I get that right? I've been with the March for a long time, but I have been away a little bit here and there. Is this your first time here on Monday night?
No, in 2018, I performed Dragon Skin in San Francisco.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Well, welcome back. We're
thank
glad
you.
you can join us here in our virtual space. Um, so there was a question about the truth of this piece that you've just done. I mean, you had told me it's an autobiographical piece, um, and um, there was an awful lot there. And I guess my question to you is, what what made you decide to bring this into this public space, this particular story? You're clearly a good writer, and so I'm sure you have other stories in. What brought this one?
Um, I think it was that I couldn't let the event drop out of my head. And the other is the increase in violence against Asians, and in particular, this issue of the China virus, and having it hit so close to me in such a dramatic and immediate fashion. And I think stories like that need to be shared.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. I'm just gonna play around here with the spotlighting here just to allow our other performers to come in. Again, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If you're on watching us on YouTube, I'm also keeping an eye on that chat. I have a question sort of for all three of you, which has to do really with creating performance for the COVID times, for the pandemic times, for the Zoom um, platform. And I'm going to skip to Lee. Are you with us, Lee? I think I've. Oh, let me see if we can unmute you. Um, because you all made different choices with regard to space. Okay, and I'd like to address that to all of you. But Lee, you went for a definite theatrical um, setting, but a really powerful use of the space, of the light and the dark, and the way you moved through that and commanded that. And I like your thoughts on creating that for Zoom.
Yes, well, originally, I'm working with Heather Arnett. I'd like to give credit to, who's our director. We were going to do this as a stage piece that she working on. She's the artistic director of Cat Call Choir, and it was going to involve a lot of people, and I was going to be doing one solo piece. And then, we started to work on it, and then it was shut down because of COVID. So we just decided to keep working on it together through Zoom. And we didn't even know what was going to happen, and how it was going to work. So eventually, then we thought, oh yeah, we could do it on Monday Night at Marsh, and then the International Solo Festival came up, and we thought, oh yeah, we could do it for that. We could submit for that. So it evolved. So it really was a piece that started before COVID, and then we decided to see if we could do it. So we really had to change quite a bit of the blocking, because all I knew, Heather is a dancer and does work with the choir that's dedicated to taking songs like nursery rhymes and then classroom. That's how I got it as well. And we did a show. I did a show with her called Nevertheless, which was also with another dance company. So this is sort of wanting to continue working on these subjects. So I think that's what inspired me to do this piece, My Boss. And so we just kept working on it, and that's why it has that. And she thought, I think we should do it in a black box space. And originally we were going to do more hooping and more moving around, and we had to keep cutting that back because you realize with Zoom you have to really talk to the camera. You have to be much more direct in that way. So then we just, I think, interested in what people would say if we did the sort of right amount for this context. Trying to figure out a way to make that work. That's behind the camera. But anyway, that's how this evolved this way.
Yeah, and we're all still working on the medium here. There's a question here from Julian. What kind of camera equipment are you using there in the Spacely?
Okay, so now Heather's going to have to answer this.
Hi, I have it's a Rio Logitech Rio HD camera, a tripod, and then just a series of 3 lights and system value. I am happy to send anybody stuff.
I love those Logitech cameras. I mean, I'm using one myself. I think they're a pretty good all-purpose device. They make a lot of good models for Zoom. I'd like to move on to Emil. A question for you again with regards to working in Zoom, because Emil, of course, you've worked in radio. You worked in radio for a long time. You've worked as a print journalist. You've had your own podcast. So on the surface, you should be well qualified to work for Zoom, right?
Actually, I also I spent about 12, 15 years in television before, but that was back in the 3-channel universe. So, television was a different thing back then. It was like you can walk around and people would stop you in the street and ask you for your autograph in San Francisco. I worked at Channel 4 when it was good. That's what I like to say, when it was the NBC affiliate. It's since moved on to being independent. But so, yeah, TV, radio. I just thought that this was a kind of a natural, convergence for me, because the big thing about Zoom is the close-up. I mean, you have the close-up. And if you're, I saw Les Miserables at the top row of the balcony in London, and I did not have a good experience watching Les Miserables. It was miserable. And if I only had a close-up, like in Zoom, that would have been great. So that's the thing. You got Zoom, you wear a headset so you don't feed back. The only thing I was missing, and it's because people don't do it in a uniform way, is that I would love a better relationship with the audience. And in some Zoom shows, they take you through a whole thing where you go to your audio settings and you put it down, or they mic just a certain, because the technology is such where if everyone goes on and adjusts their mics, it just, it's just not, you start missing some things. So hopefully someone will get it together and fix the technology so we can have something that really truly replicates the live audience, because that's the one thing that I missed from this experience. But because of my past experience in radio and television, I'm used to not hearing things and used to just sort of expecting, oh, they're going to laugh at that. I hope, or they're going to get that. I hope. And then, like if we're live and you can hear people not laughing, you might be able to come back. You might be able to do something, or you might be able to engage so that you're in a living thing with this audience, and the piece I do is unique to this audience. But you just sort of do your best, and really all your little finger wiggles and your chat box things really make a difference. So I thank the Zoom audiences here, and because I think I'm going to do all this when they come back live. I think I like this in my closet. You know, I get to see my old clothes. I get to play with my Benny Agbayani jersey. You know, I get to play dress up in a good way. So, you know, I think I'm going to do uh, maybe more of my Zoom things live on my, if they go to amok.com or zoomcomedian.com. I've been doing Facebook Lives, although Facebook is so hard to deal with now, you know, until they get a social conscience. It's sort of weird to, you know, be aligned with them. But it's all the tech companies. I just think that Facebook Live and YouTube Live are good things because, hey, it's live. We can screw up. It's like improv. Hey, you know, fool's prayer. Hey, I screwed up. And people see the real. They see how it's real. And so they're a little more forgiving. And it's a lot like going out on a date or, you know, meeting people for real socially. They're just more human. So I'm just glad to have this opportunity, and I'm sort of glad that the technology is turning. Well, I'm not glad for the virus and the technology mixing together, but you know, it does give us a way to reach audiences and tell stories, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, there's a question here. How long did you rehearse this piece? How long has this piece been in development?
Well, thank you very much for asking that. I guess if you really liked it, forever, at least a year. If you hated it, oh, I just worked on it like, you know, since Tuesday. No, I've been working on, you know, my stories are my stories. You know, you have your seminal stories and they come out the way they come out. And if they saw me 2014 in a Charlie Varon class or in a David Ford class, they might have seen some things that I might have said back then, you know, specifically when I was talking about either Harvard or talking about San Francisco, growing up in San Francisco. You know, I grew up right there in the Mission District, so I kind of miss the Marsh. I grew up on Guerrero and 19th, hung out at Dolores Park when no one went there. Wow, imagine that. Dolores Park was empty for us kids because everyone was working and the kids had it all for themselves and there were no tech people. That's my childhood, Dolores Park. So, but anyway, look, I worked on it. I would say there's never enough time to rehearse, but in the end, you just have to try to internalize things. And this is where the difference between stand-up and theater is. I would like pull it out of people if we were live, and now, you know, it's sort of hard because I have to like be in a little more prepared state, put it out, and see how it feels. But I don't know. We're in a new era, and I just appreciate that there's a group of people, or an audience for stories like this, because it's not stand-up, it's not straight-out drama. They're personal stories. You know, all the stories you heard tonight, and for the most part, true. My wife did have a colonoscopy, and I want to have a double colonoscopy on Valentine's Day.
I'm never gonna forget the idea of that image of the Valentine's colonoscopy. I'd like to say thanks to Kiran Patel, one of our longtime Marsh supporters, who popped a link into the chat. For anyone who missed it, I just popped it back in this website, ihollaback.org, and it's about bystander intervention against, you know, this xenophobia and this kind of harassment, and particularly this anti-Asian sentiment that's out there. And so thank you, Kieran, for putting that, and I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Now, I've got one last question for all three of you, and I'd like to swing it back to Spike, because someone asked this specifically of Spike, but I'd actually like to ask it of all three of you. And the question was, Spike, will there be future performances of your piece? What's next for you? Where can we next see you?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. Yeah, I do. I find that the autobiographical pieces that I write are the ones that probably I feel should have a longer life on stage than anything else. So I don't know, you know, I was in the process of writing this piece when the Marsh contacted me. So it gave me the impetus to finish it up and get it ready for performance. Thank you. Yeah, and I don't know, I'm definitely with the idea of searching for other Zoom kind of entities, because I think we're a long ways out. from having fully open stage theaters. So, I think Zoom is such a fascinating medium to keep in mind as you're writing. And I think we're basically at the start of this. So I really don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm definitely going to be looking and trying out different things.
Yeah, well, you know where to find us, and we'd love to
Absolutely.
see and hear more of this. So, yeah, thank you for that. So, moving on to now, Lee, I kind of know the answer to this question for you, but I'd like for you. Oh, and by the way, for all three of you, if you have a website or a social media where people can follow you, please feel free to type it in the chat, all three of you. But I'm going to move on to Lee. Lee, where can we see you next? Oh, she is muted. Let me give her the ask to unmute. Click here. There you go.
Yes. Funny you should mention that. It just turns out that on Saturday at 1:30, I'll be on the International Solo Performance Festival that Marsh is putting on, and I'll be doing this show again. And I'm sure it'll be different. You know, every time you do it, it's different. But I'm really excited to have that opportunity to try it out. We've been working on this for quite a while. We're every week working on this and trying out things. So I keep, adding to it and, playing around with it. And I'm supposed to look at the camera. I'm looking at myself on the screen. So I'm still learning how to use Zoom, and I'm sort of fascinated by it too. I mean, I love the stage, and it's hard not to have the audience right there. And doing it with Heather, I would say, when she would do it, so I could see her on the screen and do it for her. That was great. But tonight was the first time we've done it in here, and I couldn't see her, and that was a lot harder to just have to look at that light on the camera and not see her, because I really respond so much to the audience. I'm sure every performer does. That really, I was missing that. But it's been a great audience while I've been rehearsing, so I missed it. So we'll see. I'll be on Saturday. You can see me then, and after that, who knows? But I'm sure that Heather, that we will be doing this someday. We will come together.
That's great. So I encourage everyone to check that out and to share it with your friends. The links are on the Marsh website for the Marsh International Solo Festival.
Get that pass for and you can for $25 you can see all the shows, and you can see them not just during the festival but for a few days afterward, right?
Right. We will have those archived for everyone to watch. So you could see all of the pieces, all 56, 58. So yes. Now over, Emil, you just put some of your links there in the chat for people to keep up with you. Have you got anything lined up?
Well, I do have that, that zoomcomedian.com thing. I'm working with stand-up comics. It's really strange because stand-up comedy is so different from solo performance. But stand-up comedy is one of those things where it can be anything from, Richard Pryor to, Gallagher. And I guess I'm dating myself now. But, there's something about just getting up on stage and getting laughs. And then there's something about the solo form where you get on stage and you get laughs just by telling a real story. I mean, sometimes it's getting the dramatic or the funny part of the dramatic part, and sometimes the dramatic part of the funny part, but it's very special. And so I have resigned myself to thinking I'm not trying to go to Hollywood. I'm not trying to do, kind of mainstream stuff. I'm trying to do my personal stories. I've been writing, these columns in the Asian American press for really since 1995. So how many years? That's a long time. And I write for the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund now. And they can go to the aldef.org/blog to see where my Asian Week articles have migrated. I've written for ALDEF, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, for over 10 years. And so I'm still writing, but I always wanted to get to performance. I wrote a book, a compilation of my columns, and it just was so dull. And I said, how can you make something come to life that you wrote in a column? And that's what led me to solo performance. And, it's a long way, takes you through my Mike Daisy and Spalding Gray. And of course, I was at NPR, so all those guys over there. Uh, and so I found my own voice, and I don't have as big an audience, but I am very happy for the 38 people who are here right now, and every one of you I appreciate, and especially those I'm not related to. But if you send me an email, I will let you know when my pop-ups happen, because I'll do a pop-up on YouTube Live or Facebook Live, and people can get it, and then they can see what I do in a performer way, and also I do something at the Filipino American National Historical Society Museum, where I'm a museum director, and I talk about Filipino history over there. So uh, every Saturday and Sunday at noon on their Facebook page. But look, I miss Samar. So I've studied with Charlie and Mark Kenward and David Ford, and I love all the performers. Spike makes me want to punch my body opponent bag in my hallway, and I got a Me Too story too that I can share with Lee. So you can always get some great stories coming to any kind of solo performance.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you all three of you for sharing. It's been a great evening. Um, we've got links to continue to follow the work here in the chat. Um, Catch the International Solo Festival this weekend, starting on Wednesday. If you can support us through our tip jar, we've been doing all our shows for free. There's a link there in the chat. If you can support us, that's great. But we will be here. We will continue to be here showing work. Thank everyone. Thank you all. Thank everyone for being here. And good night, everybody.